friendly reminder that all shows on the Madness Comic Network are produced by their individual hosts and in no way reflect the opinions of the network as a whole. The statements in the following broadcast are not necessarily the opinions of the Madness Comic Network, its staff, sponsors, or contributors. This show is rated TVMA, as are all of them and all those other letters. Viewer discretion is highly advised, and, just do what Doc says. Read that again. Peace, everybody.
The future. The final frontier. It has never been so uncertain as now. AI, VR, haptic wear, nanotechnology, mass destruction with a remote click. Now we are finally seeing the true potential and dangers of an ever-connected and overly policed hyper-technological world. Have we finally become the architect of our own demise? Is there still hope? Welcome to the future. Welcome to Punk Droid.
Oh, hell. All right, that's enough. I'll save some for later. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the second episode of Freewheeling Friday. And you know what that means. We're going to come out here and we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up this weekend. Where it's a time for you to come join us. Tell us what you got going on. You got a signing? What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? Anything you want to talk about, come on out. It's Freewheeling Friday. We do have one person in the backstage area, and you guys know him. He's our friend. He's a GM, an artist, a writer, an animator, all kinds of stuff. The one, the only Mr. Jeff Bracey. What's happening, brother?
You forgot to mention one hell of a lover.
That's because I don't know any of that from experience, so...
Where are you living in?
I'll take her word for it. I'll take her word for it.
But by night, I'm one hell of a lover.
So, yeah, I did drop the link over there in the chat for anybody who wants to come out. And basically, this is just a new show. We're trying this out to see if, people give a shit, want to come out and talk about what they got going on over the weekend. That's how it started anyway. Jeff and I kind of started tonight's show a little early. We were in the backstage for the last couple hours watching numbers and freaking out.
Pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, definitely weird stuff going on. But it was cool. It was cool. It was weird to watch, but it was cool. And I want to wait to see if the one set of numbers catches up to the other one before going out and showing everybody how much of a discrepancy it was. You know what I mean? But I'm hoping they catch up to each other because that'd be kind of cool. So welcome, everyone. See, we got people watching over there on Twitter already. Bunch of people, a couple people in the Madness Network watching. And 3 people on the Jeff Bracey Twitter are tuning in right now. So,
rock on.
Say hi to your people, bro. Before they leave, say hi to them real quick.
I appreciate all my multitude of fans up there. Hey,
Hugo, if you want to join us, you can, bro. We're just hanging out.
I sent word out to the writer of our project. Don't know if you'll see it or not. This is very quick and impromptu because me and Pops were deep in the backstage of the StreamYard and YouTube world watching interesting things going on before we stepped into this role to talk about current projects.
Yeah. And you're working with David Howard, correct?
Indeed I am. David Nemesis, or Nim, as we like to call him, Howard, is not just the writer of the playground that myself and others are playing in, but he is the creator of the overall world, the world that he is called Blood World, which is set in the 26th century. It's kind of like a show in some regards that I'm watching right now called The Expanse, where humankind has started to populate our solar system, but we have not gone into galactic empires, that sort of things. And of course, as we colonize places, these places become their own nation states and factions and things like that. And the world is quite interesting. David had his own concept of a lot of things. It's called Blood World because genetics plays a huge part in every faction, every story that goes on here. So it's not like some sort of gothic horror thing, but Blood World, it's all about what's going in your blood, what's going on in your body. Slightly inspired by the movie Gattaca in some ways in that regard, where your genetics can definitely contribute to your ranking, your station in the world. But each faction is very different. In some ways, it's very Game of Thrones that way. For instance, the story that I want to tell, which will be called Fell Hand, or possibly Godslayer, named after the weapon he wields. I wanted to tell a barbarian fantasy story, but I decided that this would be a great vehicle for it. So it's going to be a mutant barbarian in a post-apocalyptic sci-fi setting, which allows me to do fun things like that. But our first release here, Blood World: The Phoenix Throne, is very much a mix of sort of the idea of Game of Thrones mixed in with some sort of Warhammer sort of stuff. There's power armor. There's a lot of religion involved as well. We have like a Hindu faction and a very sort of a medieval Catholic faction, if you will. And there's a lot of cyberpunk going on. A lot of people are completely transhumans. They have bionic limbs and organs and things implanted in their bodies, and they will change body parts like we change socks. And some people choose to be more human than others, but you know, it's as far as you want to take it. Right. And again, that really plays a part into how what your place is in society. For instance, the queen of the Ganymede Empire, she chooses to give natural birth to her heirs as opposed to brooding them in a tank like every sensible person does. Like, why would you want to go through the agony of childbirth when you can just like, hey, I'll just raise them in the pod like Neo.
Test tube babies, the best kind.
Precisely. You know, an idea that's been involved in movies like THX 1138 or Logan's Run or a number of others.
Yeah.
But like Nim is quite brilliant in the way he set up the world, and it's very gratifying that he's allowed myself and other writers for our contributing stories to play in that world, and he's given us a lot of room to create our own pieces to add to the greater lore of the Blood World. But the first release of which, Blood World: Phoenix Throne, will be launching June 10th here on Fund My Comic, I believe it is. You might hit a few other platforms.
It's going to be launching on Fund My Comic, but it's also going to be launching on the Madness Comic Network.
That's right.
Launch party, that thing right here.
Launch party with Pops here. This way.
Right.
Look at the camera. Which way should I point you? It might not be relative to the way you're seeing things in your screen. It's all
so
right
like, I'm just like sharing this show out to some places real quick. Because that's, part of what I do is make sure that we get it to as many people can see it as possible. That's enough. For the 25 or 30 Facebook groups that just all got a notification about this show, and to all the people that are members of all 20 or 25 of those, I'm kind of sorry for all those notifications, but not really. It's my job,
Real.
And there you go, dropping them links right there. Phoenix Throne right there, guys. That is the sign. Well, it's the preview. It's not active yet, but it will be on June 10th. Did we lose Jeff? It is a frozen. Nope, almost. Is he back?
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried to do something, and of course that hates me.
Hey, we just picked up another subscriber.
Okay,
950. We just picked up another sub. Oh, you want numbers updates? 1132. And what's it say over here? Let me see. 660. 1132 and 660. We're just going to keep track of them numbers all night long. It's crazy. So, you and them known each other for a long time.
Yeah. Geez, I'm not even sure for how many years now. We encountered each other. I saw a call looking for reviewers for a site called the Comic Crusaders. They're quite active on Twitter, run by the overwhelmingly charismatic.
Oh.
Yes, the king of the Wepa, Mr. Al Mega. Like if you ever get a chance to be interviewed by him, you will never have a better introduction than the one this fella gives you.
And you'll never forget the interview either.
No, never. And from there it spiraled. All the people, at least as far as the writing staff goes, for Blood World, I met all of them through the Comic Crusaders, and they're all really intelligent and creative and just cool people to know. And that, in fact, is how I ended up learning of you, Pops, because you were dialed into some people who are friends of Comic Crusaders, like Mike Nunnally and his Almond Podcast Network. And you would always come in and say hello, and be like, "Oh, Pops!" Like, who's this Pops guy you guys keep talking about? So that's how I ended up finding you.
And then we found out that we had common interests,
Yeah.
RPGs and shit like that.
RPGs and comics, man. What is best in life, Conan? RPGs and comics. You are correct. And to hear the lamentations of the NPCs and the BBEGs.
Actually, it was Jeff came into the Tomb of Annihilation game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like a third of the way through it, right? We're about a third of the way through it when you joined in.
You guys were getting pretty deep into the worst parts, and started actively
begging for a wizard. I was like, man, we're not going to make it if we don't got a nuker. We're just not going to make it.
Yeah, needed a blaster.
So,
of course, being who I am, I did not create a nuker. I created a blade singer who ran up and would stab things, and I didn't even have fireball on my spell list.
Yep.
But I acquired it. So I ended up nuking things eventually.
Things worked out so weird at the end of that game. It was like when we got to the big baddie and we're all about to get wiped, and then Laurie just like goes, "I'm going to summon this." And it just kicked its ass. It was like
she did that cleric thing and she just noped it.
Yeah, it was like that was the big baddie. Our cleric killed it. Come on.
At least there wasn't a bard there to seduce it. That would have been like the worst. I seduced the lich.
Look, we had a good time playing that game, and then you also are developing a game of your own that we'll eventually, hopefully, get back to. Because look, I look forward to all those. That's my recreation. That's my getting away from the shill and the comic, the constant trying to help people sell books, and I get to enjoy myself and still be out here putting something on the network.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to succeed, you got to work hard, but like you got to give yourself a chance to play hard too. You got to have that downtime. You got to have that, decompression, or you'll just lose it.
Even though to me it's still the network, it's still content for the network, but that's where I get to have fun. I mean, not saying that coming out here and helping everybody sell books ain't fun, but guys, that's kind of like, that's the work I do. I want to be able to play video games and do RPGs and stuff just like everybody else, have my entertainment time too. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I feel you. Like, other than a brief stint recently playing City Heroes, I let myself get lost in there for about a month when I found out I could play again. And I just really obsessed over it for a little while. I kind of got it on my system, but that's the first time I played video games in about 2 years, because I've just been really involved in a lot of stuff.
Well, I told you what Dorn and I had done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dorn and I went on Dungeons and Dragons, DDO. We actually created a Madness Guild, and we have a airship with all the amenities and everything. It's like, and it's just the two of us in the guild. Nobody else has joined us yet. It's
I've got to pay for a Warforged because I want to play a Warforged.
Yeah.
That's not one of the races you get automatically. So I
No.
I buy in on that.
But man, I had a blast. Now, something where I don't know. I think at some point you earn it, because I think they sent me something that said now I can do this with the Warforge.
I mean, if that's
I
the
didn't
case,
buy nothing. You know.
I've just decided my first character I think is going to be a Warforged Warlock. I just want to do something kind of fun with it. I've got ideas, and I haven't played the D&D MMO to see what I can do with that. But I'm a very long time D&D player, way back from first edition days. I believe I started playing somewhere between 1981 and 1984.
I know you can't get an artificer either. You have to buy that. Okay. So if you start I got a paladin, right? And I realized this dude ain't never going to be able to detect traps or open doors or do shit unless I cross him with a little rogue, because I'm not paying for an artificer. See what I'm saying? So I have a paladin rogue.
Well, he's got to worship a god of thievery. Then it doesn't.
He's got his morals, but he's not afraid to bend the rules a little bit here and there. See, that's for the greater good.
The greater good. I will
For
the greater good. I like it. I like the flavor. Like I said, I'll have to get into the game and see what it's like before I can really deeply conceptualize my character. But I'm working on ideas that I don't know will work in the game, because I don't know how up to date on the 5e rules they are, or if they're playing more, third, fourth, or whatever.
Dude, I don't know. It takes so long to, once you get to level 13, it starts taking a long time to level.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of time to hang out in the giant fold and, a couple different places that are that level, right? But I've gotten kind of bored with the places, and I haven't leveled out of them. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, come on, man, you guys give us more things to do.
And that is going to be the thing. I'm hoping, because I've never played this MMO, there's going to be enough content to keep me happy. Because the thing is, people who played with me a bit know that when I create some really off the wall character concepts, and I just do some pretty funky things with them, and I like to get into massive amounts of flavor and role play. I like to do voices. I like to character act, coming from a theater background and all sorts of things like that.
I like to fucking go outside the box. Like Chris played a Cthulhu game recently. Just a one-person RPG, right? It's just me against the fucking the case. Like, it was a case to solve. It was Paper Chase, I think was the name of it. Cthulhu Paper Chase.
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
So basically, I played the investigative journalist. Okay, but it's like right away I knew that. It's like I figured it out right away, and I said it out loud, and Chris was like, "Motherfucker, how did he know that shit already?" Right? But we still had to play through it, right? Because I knew it, but I couldn't prove it yet, right? I took him to places he didn't know. He didn't expect me. He didn't expect me to go to lawyer's office and see the will. He didn't expect me to go to do all this stuff. I went way outside the box before I ever went to the place where I knew Cthulhu, Cthulhu part of it was,
After I've been DMing since 1987, and you can have all the plans you want, all the contingencies, whatever. Your players are always going to do something that you are never going to see coming.
Like in your game, right? It was like everybody didn't want to engage, and I was like, I had to, as Crom, go engage and get everybody to engage. You're like, thanks, man, because I didn't think anybody was going to play. It's like,
Yeah, I was not at all sure where it was going to go from there. It's like, okay.
But it was like with Chris, it was just me and him, and I didn't want to just go right to where I thought that, good clues were and shit. So I dragged him all over town. It was like, he was like, man, I didn't expect you to do any of that shit. Like,
that's okay. I tried to do something on the experimental side, and that doesn't always work. I wanted to try a different style of game within a certain mechanic, and it just didn't work out. And you live and learn. So like my next approach will be taking the characters from our Tomb of Annihilation run and giving them a chance to play through the 5e version of Strahd. And so I've got to like level up the module to fit y'all's status, because you're like 11th or 12th level or something like that. So it's got to ratchet things up quite a bit.
Now, we did play Curse of Strahd with other characters once, too.
I was going
to... if we got all the way through it.
Yeah, and I was going to take you guys through from, I think that game starts at like level 1 on up. But you were very much lamenting the fact that, like, oh, these characters are stuck at 11th level and we'll probably never play them again, which is, sad once you've invested into a character.
Yeah.
So I've decided that when we get back into it, we'll just go ahead and port it over to the next adventure. Because I get it. I hate not giving a chance to fulfill a character. Either he makes it to level 20 and beyond, because I'm big on coming back and doing one-shots with 20th level characters. I don't think 20th level should be the end point. I think you should be able to come back and enjoy those characters, because you work very hard to get to level 20.
Dude, I'm telling you.
But either you get to level 20 or that character dies. I've had 2 of my characters die recently in a couple of games that I'm still playing in. I was like, oh man, I had hopes and dreams, but they bit the bucket. That's the way it rolls.
Yeah, I haven't lost one yet. My characters are all still alive, but like the one we played in Curse of Strahd, I don't think I'll ever play him again. He's still low level. We didn't go all the way through it. He's just kind of stuck down there at 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah, there might be a chance to get back in there. Max did not seem to particularly enjoy 5th edition D&D.
No.
I like the system quite a bit, and this is coming from somebody whose like main jam was AD&D. I wasn't overly happy with 2nd. I tried 3rd, 3.5. Yeah, I didn't really get into that. 4, I just avoided that. I heard too many bad things about that. But 5th resonated, and it allows a lot of options. I love a lot of options. It's very easy for new players to adopt, so I enjoy bringing new people into the game who haven't played before. It was pretty easy to learn and master in a relatively short time as a DM, and that's a good thing to have, because as the DM, I've got to be really up to speed to guide new players into the game.
Right.
But yeah, I dig 5th edition, and I love being able to. I watch a lot of videos from power builder kind of people. Not that I power build, but I like to see what you can do. And if you're clever about it, you can fulfill just about any concept you want in the 5th edition system. Yeah, roll a mage or a priest, level them up, and resurrect those characters, Jeff. Oh man, it was sad because one of those guys was like a 14th level, and he got nailed by a death tyrant. He got disintegrated. He had like 10 hit points left. He'd gotten the shit beat out of him, and then I failed not only my dexterity saving throw to avoid his ray. I had inspiration, so I tried to re-roll, and I failed on that as well, and he just got nuked. Hey, here's our author.
Hey, what's going on, Al?
Hey, we're talking about things we like, things we're doing. Talking about a little bit about some Blood World, as well as some D&D and stuff like that.
Hey, I love both those subjects. I joined you in person, but you caught me relaxing with a less amount of clothes on, so I didn't think that the audience wanted to see all that. So
keep your purple worm, sir.
Yes.
You're not in person, really? I thought you were in person.
Well, I'm not on camera, I should say.
There you go. And
there we go. It's out. Ha!
I saved that for the Rain Cross Press OnlyFans. So
yeah,
that's the special Friday night late night stream. So for everybody out there, how you doing, Pops?
It is all action right now. I'm kind of like I'm trying to reframe this background a little bit. So
okay,
just like bear with me for a few seconds.
Sorry, man. You've like filmatically, you've got the rule of thirds going. You're okay. Yeah. It's a much more interesting shot.
Wow.
Weirdly, because of the positioning of my camera on my iPad, I've got almost a weird sort of Dutch angle thing going on behind me. Like my don't line up with my doorway back here, so I've got like some non-Euclidean geometry. I'm feeling very Lovecraft in that way.
Yeah, Hugo says you're looking good, bro.
Hey, Hugo's the man.
That's what I really look like when I take off all of the makeup at night, you know. Around undead there. So
speaking of which, who did that cool zombie picture of you there?
Man, it was a guest on Drink and Draw, and I have to go back and look to give them credit, but he had done these great drawings and I remarked on them, and he did a caricature of me and Laurie as undead, and this is what he did of me, and I thought it was great. So
this would be Laurie Cunningham from ASAP.
Yep. So
ASAP Imagination got a plug.
Not to be confused with Laurie Calcaterra, also.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to distinction of it, like Laurie Cunningham, who is another one of our part of our comic book creator brotherhood. She is with ASAP Imagination, and she's known for doing wonderful books like Babies with Rabies, a title I am jealous I didn't come up with myself.
I'm going to be on Tuesday Morning Brew with Laurie Calcaterra on Tuesday. So
nice.
Yeah.
This week on Tuesday? This week?
Yep. This coming week on Tuesday. And I'm going to I forgot to do a live unboxing, but I got my Path of the Pale Rider and my Big James shirt.
Oh,
cool
yes.
Stuff, so. Yeah. And in fact, I have to show her, but she had these cool stamps on the sleeve that it came with. There was like a stamp of a sugar skull on there, a Mexican sugar skull. I thought it was so cool. I even cut that out of the box and kept that. So it was pretty awesome. So.
All right. First of all, I got two things to say. One, because Laurie's not here for me to pick on. What is Path of the Pale Rider? I do that to her all the time.
Oh.
I really love that little commercial she had where she's sitting in her car asking about that and doing that. And the second thing is, like, Laurie is like the mistress of just cool stuff in a campaign. Like her marketing, her add-ons, all the stuff she does is just so freaking cool.
I even got a hot sauce.
Yes, the hot sauce, man. Like, how crazy is that? She's sending people hot sauce.
Man, I can't even eat that stuff anymore, and I still thought it was cool, you know. So
for all of us other people out there trying to produce comics and crowdfunding, though, like Laurie has set the bar just astronomically high. I don't know how the rest of us mere mortals will ever reach what she has achieved.
Okay, I have to check the framing on something. Ma'am, I'm not kicking you out. I just want to check my frame. You'll be right back in like 2 seconds. Oh, that didn't look too bad, huh? It's close. Okay. I just want to make it so you can see the words when there's just two people up in here. Once you get more, it doesn't matter.
Right. Framing the background image. So I got into a little bit of a Blood World, talking about the initial project here, Phoenix Throne, and some of the expansion stories we're hoping to get into. How some of us met via the Comic Crusaders, and how excited we all are about Blood World, because it's weird. It started out like Nim here had written this short story set in a much earlier phase of the world, way before the major expansion and divisions and factions and new monarchies and governments had come up. Sort of like a very early precursor to it. Like if you're thinking Star Wars, think like the Old Republic versus where you are when you see the first Star Wars movie. Like way just a gulf of time. And we thought, like, hey, this story is pretty cool. And then he started pitching some other ideas where he wanted Blood World to be as he was envisioning it. And a lot of us all became so enthralled with this idea. We all started getting ideas like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? Like, oh, what do you think about this? And the next thing we know, we all just decided to, expand this thing. And like under Nim's umbrella, he's like, all right, like, what, you want to do this? All right, let's start working on this, and you start working on that. And it all just came together rather organically. And it's so cool because it feels like we're all, on the same page, but at the same time, we've got our own kind of thing. And, Papa Nim is over there to like kind of oversee us all and make sure we're all basically, operating in the same world.
Yeah, one of the original taglines we had come up with, or I had come up with for the world was, 300 billion people, 300 billion stories to tell, basically meaning that you could go anywhere you want and tell a story of what people are doing at this time, because that's what it's really about. It's about humanity and shit. It doesn't matter how many years it goes from now, we're going to all have the same problems. We've got, corrupt politicians and warfare and disease and people disagreeing and religion and the whole, just doesn't matter when we are, we're all the same people and we got different problems, just new flavors of the same old problems, and that's kind of the fun part to tell those stories. And then people started throwing out ideas that I had never thought of. Jeff came up with stuff for Jeff and DT came up with stuff for Earth that fit really nicely into what I had already envisioned. And, we had that going on, and we had all the other stuff going on out in the asteroid fields. And yeah, really cool.
He is the man in the chair. He is the man in the chair.
Yeah. I have high hopes for this thing. Let's just get this thing off the ground. But I took a big step earlier today. I've started doing a more detailed look at the rules, but I actually got some stuff back for us to start creating our own cast of miniature figures for a strategic or a tactical war game set in this universe. So, eventually when we get the money, we're going to create like a 40K Warhammer 40K style game out of all this, where, you could collect your armies and fight, squad-based battles are larger, and eventually you could collect vehicles, and you could fight as mutants and all the other stuff you could do and collect them and paint them, and just a ton of fun. So those kinds of things go with it.
And what's really cool about this, even though these factions are all in the same world at the same time, Dave has created this situation, and I really love this about his world. Like if you look at a Star Wars or even a Dune or some other things, it's like, oh, there's little differences here and there, but people are basically existing more or less in the same way in the same universe. But the world that he's established and we've helped add our own ideas onto, it's like many genres together, but it still fits. It all just hangs off the framework. It all has the foundation that he's built here. Like I said, the Phoenix Throne is a very much a monarchy sort of situation. So there's, like I said, there's that Game of Thrones, there's the courtliness, there's the crusades and the wars, but it's also cyberpunk. So you've got all this stuff going on with the power armor and all this, and it has a very distinct flavor. But at the same time, in another part of the world, you've got this faction that's all about genetic manipulation. So you have these shapeshifters and other people who've had things grafted on their bodies to make themselves better in different ways. Our buddy Steve has a story that's out in the asteroid belts or the Oort cloud, and it's very much sort of a modern Western, almost like a Mandalorian sort of flavor, but it's also digging in a little bit to that medieval sort of thing, because one of the characters is a witch hunter who dressed up like a futuristic knight, and and the witches in this world are psychics, and so they're out to stamp this out like Torquemada, in the Spanish Inquisition. They're rolling in like that. And meanwhile, I kind of wanted to tell like a Conan-esque story, so I'm dealing with all the irradiated people who are in this vast area where America used to be, called the Wasteland, and they're all mutants. Like one of my characters, my main character, has 3 arms, and he's running around battling guys with this super high-tech sword called the Singularity Blade that just kind of eats things like a little portable black hole. But he's fighting other mutants and mutant monsters, and at the same time on this world, the decadent remnants of the non-mutated humanity live in these 10-mile-high towers called spires, and they just really don't have anything to do with the outside world other than kind of mess with it every now and then and broadcast that to the populace as a form of sort of Roman gladiatorial entertainment. But meanwhile, a lot of the mutants actually worship the spires because they look like these impossible structures. All they see around them is wasteland. So these things are surely, the homes of the gods. So there's like lots of cool things going on here.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, Dune and even more so Firefly kind of did it the same side of thing before. It's like if you compare how the people out in the periphery of Firefly live compared to the people in the central planets, is
I really think you've taken that to an extreme they were never able to get into, maybe for budgetary reasons.
Yeah.
There's always going to be like, you've got your empire in Star Wars, which is very this, but then you get in the Outer Rim, it's very Wild West, versus, technological society, that sort of thing. And the same thing with Dune. You got the Imperium and you got the Fremen. But, these people are all still more or less human, more or less kind of the same, a little bit different. You got a few who are like a bit ahead, like the Bene Gesserit and whatnot. But, the fact that you've got people who are psychics and people who are just cyberized to the nth degree, people are mutated wildly, and other people who are purposely genetically manipulated, it creates alien species, to my mind at least, out of humans. So like it's a further bridging apart, like a further distancing. Is like, oh, how can we make this other faction the other? Because you've got to make somebody the other in order to wage war on them. And establish some really neat stuff here.
I will say though that the people that are into genetic engineering really are based a lot on the the central planets in Firefly to the worst degree. It's like that. How do I describe this without being topical? Think of the people who really believe that government is the best way to live and that the government should interfere in your lives and they always have their best thing for you. And so they're going to change, you could definitely see the people in the Seoul Scientific Symposium for instance, introducing packs onto a world, like in Serenity, in order to pacify the planet. It's the kind of thing they would do. And to me, as bad as the Ganymede monarchy is, as violent as it is, I'd much rather live there and be free, so.
Right. And because like you've really created, like I mentioned the Gattaca thing, you've created there not just a system based on your genetics, but it's like a scientific genetic theocracy because they worship the genome.
And it's a caste system too. So if you don't fit into that, you're screwed, and only a small percentage of their population could do all that. But at the same time, like I've talked a little bit on other things, you have the blood race who are chosen because they've got a certain genetic makeup that allows their genes to be quote unquote slippery. And here are these assassins who are incredibly dangerous, but they go into it knowing that at any moment their whole genome could melt down and then they turn into genetic goo, so they're powerful. But it's one of those things that we've talked about with comics all the time. It's like Superman is no fun unless he has kryptonite to give him a weakness, so these unbelievably cool assassins are no fun to write and play with as a creator unless they have some sort of weakness as well. So.
Or you can change the color of the sun, put them on a planet with the red sun. Yeah,
absolutely. Or if you can go into to steal from Richard Donner, go into a little plastic box and then push on it, and then it changes the color of the sun outside, so you take all the power away from your enemies. So.
Yeah, I'll say that for my money, John Byrne got Superman right after the Crisis on Infinite Earths rebirth. He made Superman interesting once again, and he was able to threaten Superman and those around him. But they've power creeped him up to the point where like you just don't care about Superman again.
I gotta laugh at Hugo's comment. I should clarify, more free. So that tells you what's going on the soul side too. If you really want to be free, you live out in the asteroid fields and deal with all that and don't deal with anybody, and you're a pirate or something. That's real freedom. So yeah.
Now, if you want total freedom, you just have to live in the wastelands and try not to be eaten by other things or other people.
Yeah, proxy bears or living seas or any of the other horrible things that are out there. So
yeah, I've created a really terrible ecosystem where specifically in the area of North America here, which is the worst radioactive wasteland possible, that there's very little in the way of sustainable water, and so it's created a very carnivorous sort of lifestyle, not unlike a lot of things have to live in the ocean. It's kill or be killed because that's how you obtain moisture. So even the plants are carnivorous. Everything is looking to eat everything else.
I think one of the coolest things we have, though, is alongside those mutants, which are kind of, I think it's fair to say they're almost like the noble savages of Earth, although I don't think we're going to find their savages after a while, but is those, the modern art version of idiocracy of those people living in the crumbling remains of the once Terran Federation. And they don't even know how their own cities work. They just live there and hope to God that the whole thing is not going to fall down. And
I was very inspired by the fact that like with the pipeline shutdown, our oil pipeline got hacked and it got shut down and it caused us a lot of problems a couple of years ago. And the thing that just blew me away is it could have been manually turned back on, opened up, but they were so sure in all their computerized systems for everything that they, everybody who knew how to do it manually, they just let go. And they never trained up anybody else on how to open it manually in case, the computer network for all this ever went down. And I was like, well, that's fucking stupid. And it makes sense. Like if you're going to have this decadent society where basically the people living in the spires don't have a care in the world. And once you stop caring, things start getting done. And it's only the people at the really tippy top who understand just how broken things are for them. And it's like, oh, this can't happen. But as long as it happens after I die, I'll just keep kicking the can down the road.
Once I started writing that version of history for Earth and for humans as I was building this society and this setting. I was in the middle of, I think I was having a discussion with my kids, and they were talking about what would we do if there was like a nuclear war or something like that. I was like, well, you know, what we do. And they thought I was crazy at first until they understood that I had taught them all these skills over the years. I said, we go into the mountains, we take the dogs, you know, we would leave the cats because cats aren't doing anything for us unless we eat them. You know, we take our weapons, we take our camping gear and everything, and we'd eventually build a cabin and hunt, and we'd grow food, and we would live in the mountains. You know, that's what we would do. And they came to realize that I had taught them all that. I even taught them, you know, we have chickens, and they're like, I said, if we need to, we'd eat the chickens, but mostly we take them for the eggs and everything. And, you know, it's like, you do what you have to survive. But then they were telling me, they're like, how many people could do that these days? I said, well, the more technologically advanced we get, the less people are able to take care of themselves if that falls apart, you know? So
Yeah, here's something funny. You want to hear one of the funniest things I've seen in recent days? Some like millennials, or not millennials, some Gen Z and some Gen Alpha are actually thinking about stuff because we've got all this other stuff going on in the world. It's like, oh, you know, what if there is a war? What happens? You know, like what if we get hit with a big EMP? You know, like what if, you know, the supply chain's broken? They've seen all this stuff, so they've gathered enough awareness to at least think about things. And one of the funniest things I saw is a lot of kids were downloading like survival guides onto their phones. But if we get EMP'd, you won't have those phones. So your survival guide don't mean shit if you can't read it. I've got books.
One of my favorite scenarios, I don't know, Pops, if you've ever read any of this stuff, but, you know, like Conan, where they talk about the ancient civilizations that collapse and everything. And then there's people that theorize, you know, those conspiracy theories that who knows, you know, that there were ancient civilizations that were more technologically advanced than we are, then they collapse. It's like, for me, when I sit out there and think about it, you know, when I'm wasting time thinking about stuff like that, I'm like, that's really possible. You know, if it all fell apart tomorrow, I could see us going back to a very much earlier time because people wouldn't know how to do any of this stuff, you know?
Yeah, by necessity, we'd have to. Like, if we are so dependent on our current technology, if this all went away, we would effectively be Stone Age agrarian.
Yeah. Which would be crazy, you know? And basically, over time, people would forget. It would be mythology of a time when people flew in the skies and, you know, and everything else. And it would be, before the seas drank Caboria and, you know, and all
that's always kind of fun. Like, you remember the old, one of my inspirations for my segment is like the Thundar the Barbarian show. And they'd forgotten so much. And it's only the fact that the sorceress Ariel had studied up on past history that, like, when they would run across some ancient relic, she's like, oh yeah, this thing is what they used to call a car, and people used to hop in it, and it would carry them around like a horseless carriage. They're like, what is the sorcery you speak of?
Yeah. So I mean, those are always just fun things to play with, but at the same time, there's always that kernel of truth or what if in science fiction that I love to play with.
Like, it's historically accurate. We have only recently discovered how the Romans made their own concrete. And it took thousands of years for us to rediscover how they made their concrete, which is far better than our concrete.
Well, so I'm entirely convinced that they need to figure out how the Romans made roads, because we don't know how to make them here in Southern California without having a pothole every other year. So we need to rediscover that technology immediately.
Oh, come on, man. They'll never allow us to have that technology. Too much money goes into infrastructure.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing I'm excited about for Blood World, and I'm excited to tell those stories. I'm excited to keep going Phoenix Throne.
And Nimir is a genius. He's a big fan. I think as most of us who are our age, we're both in our 50s. of the comics that we grew up on. So one of the bright spots on top of the already exciting and intriguing story is he wanted to put these old style comic book ads in the comic. He's got his own type of Sea Monkeys ad, and he's got other ads that are going on showing other little vignettes into the world, and it's really funny and really interesting all at the same time, and I love him for doing it.
We also have a tech drawing in there for one of the pieces of armor, and we're going to do a tech drawing in every issue. So we're going to commission and get someone to do a tech drawing for different tech throughout the universe, and then when we get enough of them, we're going to put that together, and we'll publish that as well and put that out there, because I'm one of those guys that love to read the Star Trek tech manuals and all that other stuff. That was always fun. So always love doing that stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to, and I think there's so much to do. I think this thing lends itself, like I said, to miniature games. I think it lends itself to card games. It lends itself to novels if people want to do that, short stories. I would love for this to take off. And, are there parts that I want to play with? Absolutely. But I don't have problems sharing my toys with other people and letting people play with it. And, in the opening to the book, it talks about places that I've only briefly described, but I would love to see. Like one of them is the Pleasure Houses of Venus. I was like, who doesn't want to go see a comic book or a story at the Pleasure Houses of Venus with criminals or organized crime and stuff like that, and everything going on there, like a Han Solo figure in this universe that's hanging out in the Pleasure Houses of Venus. And I talked about the plasma monasteries of Mercury. What's going on there? Why are they there? What's going on with that? The Hermetic Dawn over there. So cool stuff. And there's so many other things to go. And then Jeff and I have spent many late nights talking about where this universe would go in the far future, because eventually it will get to a point where these stories will start to coalesce, and then there'll be other things that could happen. So
yeah, we've talked out plot lines 5 years out. Like, if this was like a monthly title sort of thing, we've thought about like if like we were like a Marvel or a DC, and if we were doing these in that sort of way, is like, okay, this is where I'd like to take the story for like this first year segment, and then the second year I'd like to see this, and then the overlap of the ideas got really crazy exciting, because I think it went in directions that neither of us had really considered. And Dave here just such tremendous ideas. And just like when I thought, like, okay, here's kind of where I would like to retire my character. He's going to ride off into the sunset, and we'll focus on this other character who's been on the journey with him. And he's like, what if he went into space? I was like, what? This dude would never go into space. Like, yeah, but what if he did? I was like,
all it takes. What
okay.
if?
Yep.
Oh, wow, that's it. And he's going to do what? He's going to meet who? They're going to do what? Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Crazy. Love it.
Yeah, it's exciting. And I think the thing, like I said, we got to get this thing off the ground. We got to get it going, which we're going to. And once it gets rolling, once it picks up its own steam and momentum and it's sustainable, I just think there's so much to do with it. But one of the things I definitely am excited about is the fact that these characters will live their lives as they're going to for the story, and some of these characters are going to die. They're going to end their lives for the story, and other characters will rise up, and that's part of the part that I love as well. I'm not going to name names, but people need to see a beginning, middle, end to stories. And we've talked about this on other things. One of the reason people love anime and manga so much is there's a beginning, middle, end. So
yeah, like we don't plan on having a thing where, like, these stories and characters necessarily continue on so much after us, where like you've got 30 years of writers, writing your character, and we've seen like that end in weird places. I personally much prefer the manga style, or if it's American comics, the Mike Mignola style, where like he oversees his world of his Hellboy and BPRD and all that. So it's always under his purview. And with the mangaka, they have full ownership of their story from start to finish, and rightly so. It does have beginning, middle, end. Characters die off; they don't come back. And when you do bring back something like a Naruto, it's the next generation. It's about, it's no longer his story. It's about his son's story or his daughter's story. I haven't gotten far enough into it to see if she's going to ascend as well. But now it's about Boruto.
As I get older, I have mixed feelings about whether or not the story should end or not before I do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair.
Some things I want to see how it ends before I die. Other things I want to outlive me. I don't want them to end. I want that shit to keep going for other people to enjoy. Do you see what I'm saying?
For my part, I think if I was to do something like that, I definitely have a definitive end in mind for characters and stories. And I'm not a multiverse sort of guy the way other things are, multiverses and what ifs and all that. But I do believe if it does continue beyond me, not necessarily just talking about this, but about stories that I create.
I'm speaking as a fan too. I'm not speaking as a creator. I'm talking about the stuff I read. It's like some of it, I want to see how it ends, but other stuff, it's like I don't want it to end.
Here's my pitch to that: is that there's still room within the lifetime of that character to tell stories that we never knew within the serialized version. Like I did like it way before they started doing this X-Men 97 cartoon. They Marvel actually put out an X-Men 97 comic book for a while, which kind of got back to the more classic period of X-Men that a lot of people enjoyed. And I got into that. It hit my nostalgia, it hit my feels, it was just hitting all the right points, and the cartoon is doing very much the same. So there's still stories to tell in between all the stories we know. So you can keep that character alive that way.
Check this out, guys. Have you heard?
I'm a fan of Legacy.
Have you heard?
Character.
Have you heard about the book called Satellite Girl?
No, I haven't heard.
I was on the show with the creator of Satellite Girl.
This dude, it's like it goes backwards, Jeff. It starts in the 19th generation of a sidekick to an immortal. Basically, the immortal just keeps getting another sidekick and another one, right? So Satellite Girl 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, he's on Satellite Girl 19, and the next book is Satellite Girl 18, and the next book is about Satellite Girl 17. It's going to go backwards.
Okay,
is it fucking cool or what?
It's the comic book version of Memento, but I got to say that is very clever. An immortal character, and the point of view character is the sidekick.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I gotta check that out.
And it goes backwards in time instead of forwards.
I would definitely check it out. I backed the campaign when I was on the show with them with Pops.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. So.
And it did fund, by the way. It did fund.
Awesome. I will say I like the way Mike Mignola did it with Hellboy, where he ended the story, and spoiler alert for everyone, Hellboy dies. So, that was a while ago. But
Hellboy goes to his namesake.
Yeah. But there were so many other stories to tell in those years that he was alive that they've gone back. I mean, because the thing's a cash cow. And I'm one of the people cashing that cow because I'm buying every Hellboy that comes out. So, so it'd be stupid to retire it from a business sense. He's making money, but he's telling stories that have never been told from the past, which, is going backwards, like you were saying, which is cool. So, I could still get my Hellboy, but I knew how the story ended too, because, they had to bring that thing to a close. We all knew it was never going to end great for Hellboy. So
yeah. And there's also fun things to do in there because you can retroactively like fill in some gaps here and there.
Sure.
From you can connect it to these other stories. But I also like I said, I'm a big fan of Legacy, and I like what they did with TMNT. We had The Last Ronin, and now April O'Neil and the gang are raising a new group of mutated turtles in the Ninja Turtles world, and it's going to be interesting to see what develops out of that. Because this is not like just a reboot or a reset. These aren't reflections of the characters that we've enjoyed for the past 35 years or so. These are their own characters, and I'm really rooting for them and hoping they've got the kind of staying power that the original Turtles did.
I'll just lay this out there, though. I mean, I'm a DC fanboy, and I love Batman. He's not my favorite DC.
Marvel, Spider-Man.
I love Batman. And as much as I love reading Batman stories, I always wanted to know what's next. Batman is a dude. He's just a dude. And he's an exceptional dude, but he's a dude. And it's like one of the reasons I love Batman Beyond so much was it gave me a peek into what's next. And I grew attached to Terry McGinnis. But man, I would love to see a point where Batman has to step back and a Damian Wayne, or maybe it's Dick and becomes Batman, or maybe it's Tim Drake, or who knows, but I love seeing him progress. And I'd eventually love to see Bruce go through these different aspects of his life and age out and see what's going on with Bruce, and watching somebody take up the mantle of Batman and, all the other things, because Bruce wouldn't take that well, I'm sure, So I want to see that story. And so as much as I would love to see, like Pops was saying, Bruce Wayne Batman survive past me because he's iconic, and I still think there was a way to do that, I would love to see one title that keeps going chronologically, at least one title, and shows me an aging Batman and whatever happens to him.
I would like to direct your attention to the John Byrne written and drawn World's Finest, which takes Batman's line and Superman's line through like centuries.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about like not like an arc, but a regular title, one long arc that's been going on for years that just ages this whole world, so eventually, because to me, Superman is basically immortal, Diana's immortal, but to watch everybody else age out and to deal with, what do the immortals do as they're watching everybody age out past them? So.
A fascinating approach to this is actually Judge Dredd, because Judge Dredd ages in real time every year of comic book life, and they have to play with that a little bit because sometimes story arcs take 2 to 3 issues. Mm-hmm. But Judge Dredd is basically an old man at this point, because chronologically he has aged the same amount of time that the comic has been going on. So that's a neat approach as well.
And the thing I've never quite understood with DC is that they have that kind of set up for them, but then they just stop, because we had Justice Society, mm-hmm. and then we have flashes, we went through, Jay Garrick, and then we went to, Barry Allen, then went to Wally West, and then it was just kind of stopped. And I'm like, why did we do that? So,
it's a real shame that they did too, because I'm pretty sure everybody liked Carl Rayner as the Green Lantern, the new young kid. I really liked Wally West as the Flash. Dick Grayson has been primed to take over Batman forever. And then mm-hmm. once they introduced Batman's son, Damian, is like, well, that kid is Batman already. So he can totally get there.
I love me some Damian. I think he's a bratty little kid, but I love him. So
yeah, I mean, and it's so set up, and I appreciate the same thing about Marvel, which is why I always hated the One More Day storyline, because Marvel branched out and did some other things. Of course, they had the Ultimate line, but before they did that, they had the what they call it, the MC2, Marvel Comics 2, which was talking about the next generation, and the flagship character of that particular brand became Spider-Man's daughter, Spider-Girl. And it was the continuation of Spider-Man's story, but, now through his progeny. And, you figure one day she'll have her own Spider Kid, and so on and so forth. And And I guess it didn't sell enough to keep going, but for me, I know there were a lot of fans of it. So
I don't believe that though.
Interest. What's that?
I don't believe that because one of the greatest stories, and I think one of the best-selling stories that they've ever had for DC was Kingdom Come, which is all about generations and heroes.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I personally, I think that's Mark Waid's best work. Oh,
very nice.
I did a little bit of unboxing today on the show, but I want to show you guys some of what I picked up and some of what, just because we talked about. You said something about what is?
Yeah,
that's book one, guys. That's book one.
Wow, sweet.
Just so you guys know, Path of the Pale Rider is not just a comic book. It's also short films. It's a multimedia extravaganza in Laurie Calcaterra. How do you say her blasted name?
Calcaterra.
Calcaterra is a flipping. She's a.
This is book one. This one is the one with the glass shards. That's book one. And then that was book two. And this is when she started getting creative. It's like you see the origami bear in the baggie and stuff, and she was like coding Morse code stuff, and she was just doing different stuff, and it just keeps getting better and better. Okay, so then
Laurie just
book
tried.
Three. That's book three right there.
Yeah.
And stuff just kept
love
better.
Love that. Absolutely love that stuff in the back.
And then there was book four.
Did you see Pops?
Yes.
Before you keep going, did you see she unveiled the new cover for the next issue? Oh my God, it's so
yes, I did. That's a William Russell cover, and I was like, "Whoa, dude's fucking leveled up."
Yeah,
dude has leveled way up. Now, another thing that I got was, dude, look, I told you guys I was talking to Jeff earlier about playing D&D with Doran from Whitefire Comics. Okay, you see the guy holding the staff with the skull on it?
Mm-hmm.
The staff with the skull on it?
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Sweet.
That is him. That's my Joe on the cover of this book. Okay. And then there's Raquel #1, Quint's Curse, because that was Quint. Okay.
Oh, now that's such an interesting looking book.
Dude, this shit's good.
By the way, Jeff,
all kinds of the same stuff, decoder stuff you got to figure out. You know what I mean?
Before I forget, Jeff, we are launching Blood World, Phoenix Throne, on Monday Morning Madness, June 10th. So
June 10th.
We did discuss that a little bit too. And then came Raquel #2, Quint's Curse, which I got this a while back, right?
Nice.
This is the A cover. Good looking stuff, right? Some more just decoders, stuff you got to decode and whatnot, right? But then today,
it's really neat. It kind of reminds you of the sort of viral marketing JJ would do back in the day.
Is that a foil cover?
Yeah, so he sent me the collector's edition, the foil cover. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
Jeff, he sent me the fucking proof copy, dude.
What?
He sent me the proof copy right there, the job number and everything on it, dude.
That's because we all know, like, whenever somebody puts out their little ash can, their wrecked copy of their first print, like, oh, this one is okay. I see the problems. Like, I want that. I want your first everything.
I want the first one, yes. But check it out, man. So I got the proof of that one, and then.
Nice.
Redemption #10, Worthy Chaos. Corissa, book 10. I haven't known her for 2 years. Book 10, guys. When I met her, she was on book 1.
10 bucks, 10 books in 2 years, boy. She
In
is
less than 2 years. And you can sign up for book 11 right now.
she is a machine, boy. She just cranks them out.
And then, I don't know if you guys know, but there's a local guy named John Dexter who does 3 different books. Okay. Alpha Dogs.
I have Alpha Dogs. So
Okay.
very
So
cool.
Alpha Dogs. He also does Dime Store Detective, and we will be launching Star Cruising on the Madness Network here real soon.
Very nice.
Look, guys, we're gonna be bringing you some new stuff. But here was Alpha Dogs number 2, right? But today in the mail, I received the Star Wars variants from number 3.
That's great. What a great cover.
Isn't it though? I told him, I was like, dude, and then number 4.
Oh my goodness.
Are those badass or what, dude?
That's amazing. Star
I
Wars
told-
variant dogs.
Very cool.
Those, yeah, I was blown away, bro. I was like, I got to have those, man. And
You know,
and you just sent them to me. I didn't have the money to buy them. You know?
I see your Fun My Comic in the back. One of my other favorite indie comics is Hybrids by Luke Stone. So
Yep.
love Hybrids. So if you haven't checked that out, Jeff, I think you would love Hybrids too. It's
I have not, like, recent crowdfunders I've supported have been like I know I'm gonna botch this. Yuriko, which is a story of a vampire in Asia, which is really, really cool. Then this scratchy black and white art style that's super, super cool. I picked up a volume of a comic called Cryptids, which is cryptozoology creatures like the Mothman and Bigfoot and things like that are actually protecting the world from this.
Is it the one by the 656 guys?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
well, I'll tell you what.
Because I know that's like a common. It could be Timothy Flings. It could be the 656 guys. It's kind of a common name.
Yeah, I've also for like a more classic Marvel style, I picked up the Wombat, which is a great deal of fun. Just like the idea of an Aussie, marsupial inspired superhero was just really cool to me. The Wombat, and one I'm looking forward to that's still in production. It's going to be an insane 300 pages, and he's doing it in 3 different styles. But there's a book coming out called Death, Death, Death.
Oh yeah, I know about that one.
Working on for a few years now, and I'm eagerly awaiting that because like the artwork is so intense, it's worth waiting on.
Isn't that Joe?
What's that?
Isn't that Joe?
Yeah, Joe Ball.
Yeah.
There's this other guy who I want to read these books, and I'm hoping to land him on Raincross. He does these books called Mr. Happy and Symbols of Liberty. So
as a poster. Yeah, but Joe Ball first caught my eye doing a crowdfunding book called as the art. He was doing the art for a book called Super Harem, which is just this crazy idea that this dude's running around with apparently super semen, and women he has sex with gain superpowers. So, and then they have to fight like Cthulhu style monsters, which was so cool. It's such a wet concept, but it was so much fun.
Once you said that, though, that just brought up something that came to my mind today, and I had a little rant about it on Facebook. But I got to tell the story and see what you guys think. So, a guy I know tangentially, Mike Wheeler, on Facebook, came up with a concept, and he's doing these books. And he was inspired by something that Brian Pulido did, but did his own take on everything. It's completely different characters and everything. Brian Pulido sent him a cease and desist and threatened to sue him because he said it was derivative. And then on top of that, they copied Mike Wheeler's cover. They copied it and put a label on Lady Death as a Brian Pulido character and released it today trying to claim that it was from a long time ago while they're trying to put a small creator out of business. What do you guys, I mean, I can't even fathom stuff like that. So
that's very disappointing to me. I like, I have issues with Brian Pulido because I have a personal interest in something that happened. I mean, it's weird because I'm a fan of his because he's so indie, and he's so in love with comic books and the medium and getting things out there, and we need indie creators who are like that, who are just hard charging for us, because let's face it, the major industry has really let us down in the past 10-15 years or so. So like as always, when they stumble and fall, we tend to turn towards the indies. We've always had the indies, but man, this bothers me. I really hate to mudsling, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. When Brian Pulido was going out of business in the 90s to the early 2000s, I became friends with comic book colorist Jay Photos. And he was telling me how Brian owed him like a lot of money. And he kind of dropped the ball on letting people know what was happening. He told them everything was cool. They're going to keep working. And so the bill just kept piling up. And I haven't spoken to Jay in a very long time, but I don't know if that issue ever got resolved.
Mm. What do you think?
Now I hear this, and I kind of like let that whole distasteful episode go. I'm hoping Brian had worked things out and gotten better, because I don't have anybody on that side of things to tell me what's going on, and people I know recently have worked with Pulido say he's cool, but now I have to wonder, is Brian only cool when it's fair weather? And to hear this story, as a little indie guy, he started out as a little indie guy trying to quash another indie guy, because let's face it, like all of his characters are pretty derivative too.
Yeah.
So what the hell, man?
For what? I'm gonna.
I'm gonna get you in trouble.
No, see, it's like this. When I first came into this business, when I first came into doing this, hooked up with some people because they had this great idea to help put books on store shelves.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that were involved in it, kind of toxic. And they chased away prospective business associates, people that might actually use this service they were going to build, right? They got to the point where I was like, I had to disassociate myself from them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But they pop up all the time talking shit about me because I had to get away from their bullshit 5 years ago. Well, their names are Wheelers. Now, on the flip side of that, when I first started doing this, CromCon and everything, the first panel of CromCon #1, the final panel, was hosted by Brian Pulido. And he's the one that gave our network credibility when we first started fucking doing this. And
that's what's so weird.
Well, I mean, he's always been cool to me, but at the same time, him and I have a different philosophy on how stuff's supposed to be dealt with. Okay, I'm a believer in that if somebody's shitty, that you point out, hey, that guy might be shitty, keep your guard up. Okay, and some people are no. I'll say that to you in private about people. I won't tell you not to fuck with somebody, but I will tell you keep your guard up around that guy. Okay, because I know things about that guy. Okay, there was a situation where there was this guy that was going around and he was burning people, and I wanted to get out.
And that's what's so weird for me, because like I know like you've got a good association with Brian, but I know somebody else who had a very terrible interaction with.
Yeah, I have friends that have good and bad, right? Same thing. But isn't that the same with everybody?
Yeah.
There's people that like the Wheelers. I personally can't. No, I can't. I went through that with them. It's like if you're going to try to chase away half of your customer base with
Never a good idea.
shit, you're not going. I mean,
I will say though,
I don't want holes in my feet. Don't shoot me in the foot.
Jeff's story is interesting. As someone who is a writer and I'm paying for art, man, one of the things I just refuse to do is take art on credit. I just won't do it because, unless I have the money to pay you, I don't want you to do the art for me because I don't know what the future is going to bring, and I don't want to be in that situation where I owe you money and I can't pay you. So
I can imagine the sort of situation he might have been in, like trying to think, okay, I'm working on this, I'm going to turn things around, I'm going to get everybody paid, but it seemed like it got to the point where it's just a hole he couldn't climb out of. You've got to do the right thing, and I think the only reason that Jay kept working for him as long as he did is he felt like they did have a good relationship at the time. They had a very good working relationship, and I saw a similar thing happen at CrossGen. When CrossGen was booming for a while, they were a real competitor with Marvel and DC, but then they got a little too big for their britches and they tried to oversaturate their own market share. They wanted to put out book after book after book, stretch themselves too thin, and they imploded. But then, Mark Waid or whoever was in charge of the overall thing at the time didn't let those people know that they kept telling those people, yeah, you'll get paid. Yeah, everything's fine. And they snow jobbed them until they found out they were all out of work. And that's not cool.
I get all that, but to me, it scares me because I've got 3 or 4 artists right now who have been, I'm not going to say they're bugging me, but they're sending me, they want work, and they're like, hey, we'll work now for money later. And that sounds great and all, but I don't want to be in the hole to somebody for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So
never a good idea.
The other thing I did want to say about Brian is that when I quit promoting just Brian, most everybody that follows Brian quit following me. Okay, and I thought that was kind of selfish. It's like very few of the sworn nation are part of the madness.
I mean, to be fair, to be Brian, it's not his fault if the people who supported him
but he quit.
But I wanted to know for the people out there.
Let me finish what I'm saying here, because he used to drop a lot of stuff in the madness, and he quit doing that too. Okay, I used to share anything that he dropped there, just like anybody else.
Sure.
But he just I guess they didn't like the fact that I would promote anybody until I found out they were shitty people, and then I wouldn't promote them anymore, right? But you guys know me. The door's open to anybody. You first come in. If you shit on the floor, I'm going to show you out, but the door's open, right? Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I think I guess the thing that really rubbed me wrong, because I've seen this with other people, and then I heard that story today, and I kind of got fired up about it. But I'm this big believer that I make no secret about it. I was an Army officer before I did, in the real world before I decided to do the fun stuff. But one of the things is you always train in the person to replace you, and I've always felt that way about I'm not going to be around here forever. And I want to promote the next generation and get them to do good stories so that when I'm dead, maybe somebody will base what they're writing off of what I wrote, But, bring the next generation along. So
I will take those two people, and I will say one of them has talked shit to me about the other one.
Yeah.
One of them.
I could guess who. So
yeah.
So
so then that puts, I didn't know any of that. So then that puts another wrinkle on it. So you never know. I guess you never know what you don't know. And that's why, man.
I don't really do much with Yeah, I mean, I don't do anything with one of them, and I haven't done anything with the other one in a long time. I do my own thing.
Yep.
You know, I mean, the I tried to let Mike back in, and he shit on the porch before he even got back in the door.
Well,
waste no time.
You
and
know,
I also say this, that when you are dealing with people, you know, behind the scenes, you never know what you're going to deal with until you start working with them too, because you can have a good friendly relationship with them and then you start working and other stuff pops up. You know, It's like the one thing that's taught me in the couple of years that I've tried to, you know, herd cats to get all the artists and everything and all the other stuff together is like, you have no idea what is going to happen, and weird stuff happens. And I had one artist fall off the face of the earth because I think there was a revolution in his country. You know, it's like, who could plan for that? So,
I've had a few friends that just like disappeared because shit was happening where they live, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, a few friends. I don't know if they're still alive or not or anything, right?
Jeff and I have a guy we know through Comic Crusaders that we hadn't heard of for months, who turned out to have died. So, you know, we didn't know what happened to him. So it happens. But
yeah, because like, you know, when, you know, the internet's like that, if somebody doesn't contact you, you just don't know what's happened to them. Like my wife, on the hopefully impossible chance of anything terrible happening to me sometime in the future, I've instructed her to go on my socials and just let people know that, you know, if I pass away for any reasons, I have passed away. So not everybody's just not left knowing, well, whatever happened to that guy? Yeah, it's a good sort of fail-safe to have in place, because it was shocking to find out that one of our friends had been dead for a while, and we had no idea because he lives in another country.
Right. I hope people will all like get a hold of my son after I pass and offer big money for all this cool shit, because he'll need it to put me in the ground, and I won't have a use for it anymore.
Only thing I told my wife about when I die is I want one of two things. Because to me, the whole being buried in the suit and everything doesn't make any sense. So either put me in the ground in a pine box wearing nothing and let people look at me wearing nothing if they really want to. I don't care. You know?
No.
Or the other option is all of my kids better learn archery, and I want you to put my ass on a boat, push me out to sea, and they got to fire the flaming arrows into my ass to set me on fire. It's one of those two. That's what I want. So.
Yeah, I'll take a Viking send off for sure.
You know what? I was kind of looking at cremation anyway. If you're going to get cremated, that's the way to go. And I got Swede in my line, so let's do this. Let's Viking this crap up.
Yeah. But I'm like,
you got to do me a favor and braid the beard and the hair and everything, and you know.
But I was watching. I don't know what I was watching the other day, but they were talking about coffin. Oh, I was watching MythBusters, the coffin episode where he's buried alive, and they got like the mattress and the pillow, and I'm like, what the hell do I need a pillow for? I'm dead, you know. Buy a pillow for me and a mattress. Put me in a box.
Yeah, my you know? Won't cash out on me. Big fire.
Yeah.
Oh, Hugo's on fire.
Yeah.
Before cremation.
I'm like, man, I don't need a suit. And it's like, don't bury me with my jewelry, any jewelry or anything. You keep that. I don't have a use for it. Don't let it rot in the ground with me. Just put me in the dirt.
Despite what the Egyptians thought, you cannot, in fact, take it with you.
Yeah, exactly.
You can take all the worthless books that I have in my collection, and you can put them under me for kindling.
Yeah.
But don't get rid of the good shit. Sell that.
And the other thing I want is if I know I'm going to die and my faculties are still there, I want to write and or record messages to everybody who'll be at my funeral. Be like, "How you doing there, Jeff? You're looking real great." You know, it's like, "What's going on over there?" You know,
looking great. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, and there's a DJ. You know, go out to like Rock Me Like a Hurricane for Scorpions or something like that.
Oh, dude, I'm so much a fan of like the Irish wake tradition, where it's a celebration.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a mourning. You know, let's put the fun back into funeral. That's my way of looking at it.
Although I do have to say, there is something to be said for the kiss coffin. That's all I'll say.
Damn it, Gene. I think you got me. You know, the kiss coffin is pretty badass.
Yeah, the last funeral I went to, I had to stand up and talk. And I wasn't expecting to and wasn't prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of fucked up because he was a good friend of mine. But like his whole fucking family kind of just sat there. Nobody got up to say goodbye. Nobody got up to get, you know, it's like, I was tripping. I was like, and I'm in the back, right? All his family's up there. Shit. I'm in the back. And like one person's got up to talk to him. That was it. One of his family members. That was it. I was like sitting there waiting. Nobody else got up. I said it kind of loud. I said, yeah, fuck this. He ain't going out that way. And I got up and I fucking walked up to the front and I told people about my friend and the fucking trouble and shit we used to get into and all kinds of fucking shit, right? This was my friend. I don't know what he was to you people, but he was my friend, you know. And then his grandson ran up, little kid, little Donnie, little D, call him little D. He ran up, saved me because I was just about to break, right? Because I was so mad at these people because they didn't get up, give this dude any love, right? And I was just about to break, and little D ran up, and I was like, "Little D, you want to say something?" And I picked him up and I put him in front of the microphone. And he yelled so loud, he goes, "I miss my grandpa." You know, just all I could do then was just like hug little dude, right? Carry him off, you know. It's like, but he saved me from fucking breaking up there on stage. Little D's my hero now. Every time I see him, it's like, little D, what's up, dude? He lives all the way out in Arizona. I don't hardly ever get to see him now.
See, that's the other thing I want, though, is I don't want people to tell these fake stories about me. Tell the truth. I did dumb stuff, you know. So
some of them people probably went, "Oh."
That's absolutely not happening. I am going to tell the most outlandish fake stories about you that I can.
Okay.
They're going to be grand adventures somewhere between Hunter S. Tommen and Baron Munchausen.
All right, very cool.
Hey, man, I don't know what people think friendship means today's world. To me, that shit means something, right? If I consider you my friend, it's like that shit means something to me. So, you know.
Yeah. The last funeral I went to was my grandmother, and my dad and my uncle got up and spoke and told true stories. And I don't know, maybe it's just because Mexican families will talk shit about anybody. Doesn't matter if they're alive or dead, you know. So, but they told true stories about her. One of the greatest ones. I thought it was fantastic. And they even had newspaper clippings to prove it. I guess when JFK visited San Diego, my grandmother waited in line. She's pregnant, barged to the front of the line because she was about to go into labor, and got his autograph, and then proceeded to tell him off about something he did wrong. So
now that I've got this autograph, let me say a few things.
Yeah. I was like, and we were all laughing. We're in the mass, you know, we're just laughing. And it was just, you know, it's not talking shit. It's just truth, but it's good because it's like everyone's like nodding, going, yep, that's exactly who she was, you know. So
I'm very much a fan of one of the stories in the Enders game. I think it's Speaker for the Dead.
Yeah.
Where, like, you know, Ender is leapfrogging through time, flying at relativistic speeds, and he's become this mythic figure who goes to these funerals for these folks all over the systems. And he doesn't bullshit. Like, he researches the person he's been asked to give the final kind of sermon for, and he tells the good and the bad. He remembers the people as they actually were, not this mythology that we often see whenever we lay somebody to rest, all people ever say is like, oh, he is a beautiful soul. He did all this. He was great. And, he never did anything bad ever. He is a perfect angel.
You know what the worst are political funerals, man. When they bury a politician or a general and they get up there and start speaking that bullshit, and you're just like,
bullshit.
And it's not bullshit, it's bullshit.
Yeah. Guys, I'd like to do this for another 3 hours, but I actually have a Little League baseball tournament at 8 o'clock in the morning. And
I'm just glad I saw the message. You go, guys, get some rest. It is much later there than it is here. Thank you for having me. So,
dude, I'll see you again on the 10th for sure.
Yeah. And I was telling Jeff, if you're free, then definitely come on, man. We'll launch the campaign. So,
absolutely, I am so looking forward to it. Like, I'm very excited. We've been getting some feedback with our review PDF out there. We've got a review from a fellow comic crusader that was very objective, which is what we wanted. Other people's I'm speaking like Zorro the Gay Blade. Now would the peoples think I am El Zorro? Other people who had a chance to see the book have really dug it, and they're very excited for the next chapter that we're working on. Some of these other side quests or faction stories, if you will. So we are optimistic, man. Like, we're optimistic. We've got a good thing going. Nim's vision has been extraordinary. We've been blessed to have a lot of really talented people on our team, from our various writers to the artists that we've got on tap for this particular book. Tosin he's just such a professional, man. I can't say enough good things about Tosin.
And if you donate $500 or more, you get the Nim After Dark pictures. So there it is.
You and that purple worm, man, stop it. But yeah, I just got to say, like, again, I can't say enough good things about Tosin, because we've all dealt with flaky artists. We know how artists can be. And this kid is such a pro. He works hard. He works fast. He makes changes without any complaint. If you need something done, he's just 100% pro.
Absolutely.
Jeff, I want you to hang out because I want to show you something.
Oh.
I'm going to play a couple ads and end the stream. But, those numbers are just wait.
Oh, so we got some more. Okay, I can't wait to see the update.
Thank you guys for watching, hanging out with us. This is kind of going to be every Friday night thing. I don't care who comes and hangs out. You come out, you tell us what you're doing. You know what you're doing over the weekend, what you're doing in the future. I don't care. It's just a hangout, guys. So, appreciate you watching. And
apparently you can come out and talk about funeral plans. Anything's a go.
Yeah, that's right.
It just doesn't seem to have much of a, we did avoid some stuff, which was cool. We did a good job avoiding some stuff, but check this out, guys. You guys know this one. You know this one.
An ancient evil, billions of years old, wages war on the universe. Entire star systems are vanishing without a trace, leaving devastation in their wake. Nexus, the intergalactic guardian of lost souls, must stop the unnameable terror and its expanding scourge of destruction. The totality of everything in existence will collapse upon itself if he fails. With the fate of the cosmos in the balance, Nexus must confront his most dangerous adversary yet. Can he save creation from total and certain destruction, or will darkness reign supreme? Find out in Nexus Scourge, the all-new epic sci-fi adventure from Eisner-winning co-creator Mike Baron, exploding with Kelsey Shannon's dynamic artwork. Available now at baroncomics.com.
How do you end this thing? How do you put the where's the brakes on this bus? I forgot.
Jazz
how to drive.
hands. Jazz hands and
All right.
brakes.